Commander Hyanwu Park stood in the center of the massive command room, his eyes fixed on the glowing screen that showed space battles happening far away. The blue light from the holographic display lit up his worried face as he watched human spaceships fighting against the bug-like alien creatures called the Vorthok Hive. "The humans are talking normally," said Lieutenant Sujin Kim from her computer station. She was a young woman with short black hair who had been monitoring alien communications for 3 years. "Their radio chatter sounds just like always. They are coordinating their attacks and sharing information." Admiral Talon Faxhari, a tall alien with 4 golden eyes and blue skin, nodded his large head. He came from the Centauri Defense Corps and had fought in many space wars. "I have always found it strange how these humans can joke around even when enemy ships are shooting deadly plasma beams at them. Listen to what they are saying right now." The speakers around the command center crackled with static, then human voices came through clearly. "Delta 7, you have 3 enemy ships behind you, trying to shoot you down." "I see them, Delta. Thanks for the warning." "Hey, does anyone else think these bug aliens are really bad at aiming their weapons? Stop joking around, soldiers. Let's show these insect creatures why they made a big mistake when they decided to attack Earth and her colonies." The normal sounds of human military communication filled the large room. Officers from different alien species listened carefully, taking notes about human fighting tactics. Some smiled at the humans' ability to stay calm and even funny during dangerous battles. The humans had been allies with the Galactic Council for only 10 years, but they had already proven to be brave and skilled fighters. Hyanwu had served in the Council military for 15 years. He had seen many different species fight in space battles, but humans were unique. They seemed to treat war like a game sometimes, making jokes and encouraging each other even when facing terrible dangers. Other alien species fought with cold efficiency or burning hatred, but humans somehow kept their spirits up, no matter what happened. Then, at exactly 1427, according to Galactic Standard Time, something happened that nobody had ever seen before. Something that would change how every alien species thought about humans forever. The human voices stopped completely, not just quiet, totally silent. No radio chatter. No status reports, no tactical discussions, no jokes, nothing at all came from the human fleet. The sudden silence was so shocking that several alien officers looked up from their workstations in confusion. Lieutenant Kim Hyanwu said quickly, his voice showing worry. "Check all of our communication equipment right now. Something must be broken." Sujin's small hands moved fast across her control panel, pressing buttons and reading displays. She had trained for 4 years to become an expert in space communication systems. "I am checking everything, sir. All of our systems are working perfectly. There are no equipment failures anywhere." "Then why can't we hear the humans talking anymore?" Hyanwu asked. But even as he spoke the words, he felt a cold fear growing in his stomach. "Sir?" Technician Minho Lee called out from across the room. He was a quiet man, who usually only spoke when something important happened. His voice was so soft it was almost a whisper. "The humans... they have gone completely dark. No communications at all. No data streams, no information sharing. Nothing is coming from their ships." Admiral Vexhari's 4 eyes opened wide with confusion and worry. In all his years of military experience, he had never seen anything like this. "That is impossible," he said, shaking his large head. "No military force anywhere in the galaxy can fight effectively without constant communication during active combat. Ships need to share information about enemy positions, coordinate their attacks, and report damage. How can they work together if they cannot talk to each other?" But the sensor readings on their screens told a very different and frightening story. The human fleet had not lost the ability to communicate. They had chosen to stop talking. Every single human ship in the battle zone had deliberately turned off all communications at exactly the same moment, as if they had all received the same secret order. The alien officers in the command center looked at each other with growing alarm. Some had fought alongside humans before and thought they understood how Earth's military worked. Others had studied human battle tactics in military academies, but none of them had ever heard of humans going completely silent during a fight. "This breaks every rule of space warfare that we know," whispered Dr. Yunesio Chang, a military expert who had written books about combat tactics. Without communication, their ships should crash into each other or shoot their own forces by mistake. Yet as they watched their sensors, something even more disturbing became clear. Despite the total silence, the human ships continued to move in perfect formation. They seemed to know exactly where each other was and what each ship was planning to do next, even though they were not sharing any information over their radios. The silence felt heavy and threatening, like the moment before a terrible storm begins. Dr. Yunesio Chang stared at the tactical display screen, her hands shaking slightly as she watched the impossible sight before her. She was the smartest military expert in the entire Galactic Council, with 20 years of experience studying how different species fought in space. She had written the official manual on combined arms warfare that every military academy in the galaxy used to train their officers. "This breaks every single rule of space combat that we know," she said quietly, her voice full of worry. "When ships cannot talk to each other during battle, they should crash into each other or get confused about where to go. But look at how the human ships are moving now." The silent human vessels had begun to move in ways that seemed impossible. Ships that should have smashed into each other without radio communication were flowing around each other smoothly, like drops of water moving down a window. Their battle formations were changing from the normal defensive patterns that all Council military forces used into something completely different, something that looked dangerous and predatory. Commander Hyenwu felt his heart beating faster as he watched the strange movements. "I need someone to explain what is happening out there right now," he ordered loudly. Captain Ji-hoon. Nam was an old soldier who had fought in 17 different galactic wars against many types of alien enemies. He had seen plasma battles, asteroid sieges, and even fights near black holes. His gray hair and scarred face showed all the dangerous situations he had survived. But as he studied the patterns on the screen, his experienced eyes widened with shock and fear. "Sir, in all my years of military service, I have never seen anything like this," he said slowly. "The human ships are moving as if they are not separate vehicles at all. They are acting like they share one single mind that controls all of them at the same time." The bug-like Vorthok forces saw that the humans had stopped talking to each other, and thought this meant the Earth fleet was having problems. The insect aliens were controlled by a hive mind, one central brain that directed thousands of individual ships like parts of a single body. They had used this advantage to destroy many worlds and defeat armies that were much larger than theirs. The Vorthok commanders ordered their ships to attack more aggressively. Hundreds of dark, chitinous vessels swarmed forward in their classic assault pattern, moving like angry wasps toward what they thought was a confused and helpless human fleet. Communications. Officer Dae-heen Choi was a young woman who had joined the Council military only 2 years ago. She had always admired how humans could stay cheerful and brave, even in the worst battles. But now, as she watched the silent human ships, she felt scared for the first time in her career. "The bug aliens think the humans are weak now," she whispered to Commander Hyenwu. "But sir, what if this silence is not an accident? What if the humans planned to stop talking to each other?" Lieutenant Soo-jin Kim had been monitoring the energy readings from both fleets throughout the battle. She was very good at understanding the technical data that came from ship sensors. Suddenly, her face turned pale white as she looked at her computer screen. "Commander," she said in a frightened voice, "something very strange is happening to the human ships. The energy signatures coming from their vessels are changing. The power levels I am reading do not match any known human military equipment in our databases." Everyone in the command center turned to look at the main display screen. The human fleet had finished changing into something that looked completely different from how it had started the battle. Where before there had been many individual ships fighting separately, now there was something that looked like a single, giant predator moving through space. The human vessels had arranged themselves in formations that seemed to know exactly what the enemy was going to do before the Vorthok ships even did it. It was as if the humans could see into the future and plan their movements perfectly to trap their enemies. Admiral Vexhari had lived for over 200 years and had commanded fleets in battles across the entire galaxy. His 4 golden eyes had seen civilizations rise and fall, had watched the birth and death of stars, had witnessed the most terrible weapons ever created. But what he saw now made him feel more afraid than he had ever felt in his long life. "By the ancient stars of my homeworld," he said in a voice that was barely audible, "they are not trying to coordinate their attacks anymore. They are hunting the Vorthok like predators hunt prey." The transformation was complete. The human fleet no longer looked like the friendly, joking allies that the Galactic Council had grown to trust and appreciate. Instead, they had become something dark and terrifying, a silent, efficient killing machine that moved with deadly purpose through the vacuum of space. The Vorthok swarm, which had destroyed so many worlds with their overwhelming numbers and hive mind tactics, was now flying directly into a trap that had been set by creatures far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. In the command center, alien officers from dozens of different species watched in horrified fascination as they realized that everything they thought they knew about humans had been completely wrong. What happened in the next few minutes would give every alien officer in the command center terrible nightmares for many years to come. They would wake up in cold sweats, remembering what they had witnessed when humans stopped pretending to be civilized. The silent human fleet attacked with a precision so perfect, it seemed almost magical. Every shot hit exactly where it was supposed to. Every movement was calculated and deadly. The human ships moved like skilled surgeons, cutting out a disease. But instead of saving lives, they were ending them with terrifying efficiency. Weapons that had never been seen before appeared on the human ships. Bright beams of energy that glowed with colors that had no names cut through space and destroyed entire groups of Vorthok vessels in seconds. The power readings from these mysterious weapons went far beyond what any known technology should be able to produce. "Are our recording systems working?" Commander Hyan Wu asked, his voice shaking like a leaf in the wind. He could barely speak as he watched the destruction happening on the screens. "Yes, sir. We are recording everything," answered Analyst Jae Young Park. She was a quiet woman who usually stayed calm during battles. But now her hands were shaking so badly, she could barely operate her equipment. "But sir, some of the weapons the humans are using, they are not allowed under the Galactic Warfare Convention. These weapons are banned because they cause too much suffering." Captain Ji-hoon Nam had seen many terrible battles in his long military career. He had watched planets burn and seen entire species wiped out by war, but nothing had prepared him for what he was seeing now. He watched in horror and amazement as whole formations of Vorthok ships simply stopped existing, as if someone had erased them from reality itself. "Those are not the normal human torpedoes we have seen before," he said, his voice full of disbelief. "The energy patterns these weapons create suggest I do not even know what they suggest. This technology is hundreds of years more advanced than anything humans have ever shown us before." Dr. Yonesio Chang was a scholar who loved to study and understand new things, but her scientific mind was having trouble processing what she was witnessing. She quickly started searching through old battle records on her computer, looking for any clues that might explain what was happening. "Computer, search through all previous human battles. Look for anything similar to what we are seeing now," she commanded with a trembling voice. The computer began searching through thousands of battle reports. But the humans were not finished with their terrible display of hidden power. Their ability to work together without talking allowed them to use fighting tactics that would be considered war crimes if they were used against thinking, feeling beings. But the Vorthok were hive-minded insects, and against them, these horrible tactics worked with devastating effectiveness. Lieutenant Sujin Kim was studying the technical data from the battle when she noticed something that made her blood turn cold. "Commander, the humans are targeting the neural command nodes of the Vorthok ships. These are the parts that control the hive mind communication between the bug aliens." Everyone in the command center knew how difficult it was to find these neural nodes. They were hidden deep inside Vorthok vessels and protected by heavy armor. Even the most advanced scanning equipment usually took several minutes to locate them. "But that is impossible," said Admiral Vex Hari, slowly. "How could the humans identify those control centers so quickly without using deep scan technology? Unless, The terrible truth hit him like a physical blow. "Unless they have been studying the Vorthok for much longer than they have told us," he finished, his 4 eyes wide with shock and fear. This meant that humans had been preparing for this fight long before anyone knew there would be a war. They had been learning about Vorthok anatomy, studying their weaknesses, and developing special weapons designed specifically to kill them in the most efficient way possible. What had started as a normal space battle had turned into something much worse, a massacre. That was the only word that could describe what they were watching. The humans had thrown away all pretense of being civilized, diplomatic allies, and had revealed something ancient and primitive that lived underneath their polite exterior. The Vorthok ships tried to escape, but there was nowhere to run. The silent human fleet had surrounded them completely, and every bug ship that tried to flee was destroyed before it could get away. The humans showed no mercy, no hesitation, and no emotion as they systematically eliminated every single enemy vessel. The alien officers in the command center watched in stunned silence as their human allies demonstrated capabilities that officially did not exist. Secret weapons, forbidden tactics, and a level of coordination that suggested they had been hiding their true military strength for years. Some of the younger officers began to cry as they realized that everything they thought they knew about humans was wrong. These were not the friendly, joking people who had joined the Galactic Council as junior partners. These were apex predators who had been pretending to be harmless, while they studied everyone around them and planned for wars that had not yet begun. The massacre continued with methodical precision until not a single Vorthok vessel remained alive in the entire star system at exactly 1643, according to Galactic Standard Time. Something even more shocking than the battle itself happened. The human radio communications suddenly came back on, and the voices sounded completely normal, as if nothing strange had occurred at all. "Galactic Control, this is Admiral Sumin Lee, speaking from the UES Indomitable," came a calm, professional female voice through the speakers. "The Vorthok enemy forces have been completely destroyed. We are now requesting medical evacuation ships for our wounded soldiers and salvage teams to clean up the battlefield debris." Commander Hyan Wu stared at the main display screen, his mouth hanging open in complete disbelief. Just minutes before, this same space had been filled with the most terrifying display of military destruction he had ever witnessed. Now the screen showed human ships moving around peacefully, conducting normal after-battle activities, like collecting damaged equipment and helping injured crew members. The energy readings from the human vessels had returned to normal levels that matched the standard specifications in Council military databases. Their ship formations had changed back to the approved patterns that all Allied forces were supposed to use. It was as if someone had flipped a switch and turned the humans back into the friendly allies everyone thought they knew. "Admiral Lee," Hyan Wu said into his communication device, trying to keep his voice steady. "We need to have a serious discussion about the tactical operations your fleet used during the communication blackout period." There was a pause, Then Admiral Lee's voice came back, sounding genuinely confused and surprised. Communication blackout. I am sorry, Control, but I do not understand what you are talking about. We did not experience any communication failures. During the battle, all of our radio systems worked normally throughout the entire engagement with the enemy forces. Dr. Yunesio Chang quickly pulled up the detailed sensor recordings from the battle on her computer screen. Her scientific training told her to trust the data, even when it seemed impossible. This cannot be right, she muttered to herself. We have absolute proof that human communications stopped completely for 1 hour and 16 minutes. Our sensors recorded everything. But when the official human military reports started coming through the communication channels, they told a completely different story. The documents described standard battle procedures, normal casualty numbers that were within acceptable ranges, and equipment usage that matched regular military operations. There was no mention anywhere of the terrifying weapons that had completely destroyed the Vorthok fleet. There was no reference to the impossible coordination the human ships had shown while their radios were silent. The reports made it sound like the battle had been just another routine military engagement, the kind that happened dozens of times throughout the galaxy every year. But everyone in the command center had seen with their own eyes that this battle had been anything but routine. Sir, called technician Minho Lee from his computer station across the room. The search through historical records has finished. I found some very disturbing information about similar incidents in human military history. Minho's voice was shaking as he read from his screen. There have been 17 documented cases where human forces stopped all communications during combat, followed by the complete annihilation of their enemies. Captain Ji-hoon Nam walked over to look at the historical files that appeared on the main screen. His experienced eyes scanned through battle reports from conflicts spanning several years. This is incredible, he said slowly. Every single incident follows exactly the same pattern. The enemy forces are completely destroyed. The human forces suffer very few casualties. And all tactical details about how they won the battles remain classified forever. The old soldier's face was pale as he realized what this meant. These are not accidents or equipment failures. This is a deliberate military strategy that humans have been using for years. Lieutenant Sujin Kim looked up from her sensor readings, her young face showing fear and understanding at the same time. It is a pattern, she said quietly. The humans have done this many times before. They have been hiding their true military capabilities from everyone in the Galactic Council. The revelation hit the command center like a physical blow. Every alien officer present began to understand that their human allies had been deceiving them from the very beginning. The friendly, joking people who had joined the Galactic Council as supposedly junior partners were actually apex predators who possessed military technology and tactics far beyond anything the Council had ever seen. Dr. Yunesio Chang began the historical incidents with known human exploration missions. Look at this, she said, pointing to her screen. In every case, the humans had been in contact with the enemy species for months or even years before the actual battles occurred. They were studying them, learning their weaknesses, developing specific weapons and tactics to defeat them. Admiral Vexhari sat down heavily in his chair, his 4 eyes staring at nothing. In his 200 years of life, he had never felt so foolish or so afraid. We have been thinking of humans as our junior allies, he said slowly, but they have been treating us like potential threats to be studied and catalogued, just like they did with the Vorthok. The terrible truth was becoming clear. Humanity had never joined the Galactic Council as equals, seeking friendship and cooperation. They had infiltrated it as predators studying their future prey. 3 months after the terrifying battle with the Vorthok, the Great Council chamber of the Galactic Alliance was filled with worried voices and nervous energy. Representatives from 47 different alien species had traveled from across the galaxy to attend this emergency meeting. The massive circular room buzzed with conversations in dozens of different languages, as creatures of all shapes and sizes discussed what everyone was now calling the human silence phenomenon. Commander Hyeon-woo Park walked slowly to the central speaking platform in the middle of the chamber. His face looked tired and older than it had 3 months ago. He had spent countless sleepless nights, studying battle recordings and analyzing data that had fundamentally changed how he viewed humanity. In his hands, he carried presentation materials that contained tactical analyses, so disturbing that many Council military experts had been unable to sleep properly for weeks. Honored delegates from across the galaxy, he began, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's advanced sound system. After 3 months of extensive investigation and careful analysis, we must acknowledge a very troubling reality about our human allies. Our research has revealed that they appear to possess 2 completely distinct modes of warfare. The large holographic display behind him came to life, showing side-by-side footage that made many of the alien observers gasp in shock. On the left side, they could see humans fighting alongside Council forces, using standard tactics and normal weapons, joking and communicating, just like any other allied species. On the right side was the terrifying footage from the Vorthok battle, showing the silent, deadly efficiency of humans unleashed. When humans maintain normal radio communications during combat, they fight exactly as we expect civilized species to fight, Hyeon-woo continued, gesturing toward the left side of the display. They follow established military protocols, use approved weapons, and coordinate their attacks in ways that all Council species can understand and predict. He paused and pointed to the right side of the display, where the horrifying images of Vorthok ships being systematically destroyed played in slow motion. However, when they cease all communications, they become something entirely different, something that follows no rules, we understand. Dr. Yunesio Chang, the Council's chief military analyst, joined Hyeon-woo at the podium. Her normally neat appearance showed signs of the stress she had been under during the investigation. Our detailed analysis strongly suggests that normal human combat doctrine serves 2 purposes. Yes, it helps them defeat their enemies, but it also serves to limit and constrain their own capabilities. The chamber became completely quiet as the implications of her words sank in. Several alien delegates leaned forward in their seats, trying to better understand what she was saying. The silence appears to be a deliberate removal of those self-imposed limitations, Dr. Chang continued. When humans go silent, they are not experiencing equipment failure or coordination problems. They are choosing to remove the restrictions they normally place on themselves. Admiral Faxhari, the 4-eyed representative from the Centauri Defense Corps, stood up slowly from his seat among the delegates. His golden eyes reflected the light from the holographic display as he asked the question that everyone was thinking. Dr. Chang, Commander Park, are you suggesting that humans have been deliberately holding back their true military capabilities during all previous engagements with Council forces? Hyeon-woo took a deep breath before answering. The words he was about to speak would change galactic politics forever. Admiral Faxhari, we are suggesting that what we witnessed during the Vorthok engagement represents humanity's true military potential, completely unconstrained by the diplomatic necessities of galactic cooperation. The massive chamber fell into a silence so complete that the only sound was the quiet humming of the life support systems. Delegates from species that had been allies with humans for years stared at each other with growing fear and suspicion. Some began whispering urgently to their advisors, while others sat in stunned disbelief. Captain Ji-hoon Nam, who had been sitting quietly in the observers section, walked to the control panel and activated the final presentation slide. The holographic display now showed an official document with bold red lettering that read, Special Alert Protocol, Omega-7, Human Communication Cessation During Active Combat Operations. Council Speaker, Valmer, an ancient being whose species had founded the Galactic Alliance thousands of years ago, rose from his ceremonial chair. His voice carried the weight of millennia as he made the announcement that would reshape military doctrine across the galaxy. Effective immediately, he declared. When human forces cease all communications during any battle, all allied forces will implement immediate tactical withdrawal from the engagement zone. The affected area will be considered a total warfare environment where standard rules of engagement no longer apply. Lieutenant Sujin Kim watched from the visitors' gallery as the protocol was put to a vote. Every single species representative raised their appendage, tentacle, or claw in favor of the measure. The vote was unanimous. No one wanted to risk being caught in the area when humans decided to stop playing by civilized rules. As the session ended and delegates began filing out of the chamber, Sujin remembered something Admiral Sumin Lee had said during her post-battle interview. Every species in the galaxy has its true nature, Lieutenant. We humans simply choose very carefully when to reveal ours. The protocol would indeed save countless lives in the years that followed. But it also served as a constant reminder that humanity's place in the galactic community depended not on their military limitations, but on their willingness to accept and maintain those limitations voluntarily. Some doors, once opened, could never be closed again.